So, I just did my spoiler-free review in a way. It wasn't the best review, but let's hope I can do better with a spoiler review now that I can spoil the movie for you. First off, I was very fascinated about the Marvel Studios logo. Like you know how it goes like, I don't know how to say it. But you see Iron Man, Captain America, Hulk. But you don't. But in this movie, you don't see that. You just see like how the Marvel movies like how Marvel movies used to do back in the day, like before the MCU, where they chose like Marvel comic books and over and flipping. That's what they sort of did, but in a different way, in different angle. But then a few seconds later, it changes to black to make it look like the Void was taking over the Marvel Studios logo, which is kind of awesome. Um, and um, but also I went to this movie expecting Taskmaster to die, but I'm not gonna lie, when she dies in this, it was kind of a little underwhelming because she was just there. She had a very, not gonna lie, a very awesome fight scene between Yelena, Ghost, and John Walker. But then after that, she gets shot in the head, and that was it. So she was kind of pointless throughout the movie, and I don't know why she was included in it. Because she didn't serve that much of a purpose to the story overall, honestly. But okay, I guess. But I think that caused Bob to wake up. But because after that, because Yelena went to this place, but then for a mission hired by Val, as well as John and Ghost. But then they all try to team up and escape. However, Bob gets kidnapped by Val, where she convinces him to be with him and wear a costume and dye his hair, which looks really awesome. I'm not gonna lie, the costume look really nice. And they later, Sentry finds the Thunderbolts, but then immediately realize that they're not a threat to him, and Val tried to convince Sentry that they are, but then before Sentry could kill Val, Val's assistant stops him, but then later the voice started taking over his body and started taking over the world. And not necessarily killing people, but turning people into like black like stuff. But then Yelena turns into one and she's into like the Void's world in a way, where he meets up again with Bob and the members of the Thunderbolts. Try to join them to save the world and stop the Void once and for all. And not gonna lie, that was a very interesting moment where they explored the Void world. And I thought when they like to fight a guy in a chicken costume, that was a very weird scene, but I thought it was a very interesting one where Bucky punches the chicken. Thought that was really cool. And I thought when Bob is attacking the Void, thought that was pretty epic overall. And then later everything turns out to be okay. And I thought the chemistry between the Thunderbolts does work well, because at first, when they first met, they were kind of arguing. they were trying to connect in a way, but then after the 20th century they separated. But then but then when they went to the voice world in a way, they started to connect even more and join and felt connected and decided to save the world altogether, which I thought that was a very cool. That was great character developments. And I thought Yelena overall had some good times with Red Guardian, where she has a heart still is not having a great best time with her dad, and she also has experiencing her also experiencing her dark childhood, because we see adult Yelena seeing young her uh, in the past. And as well as same goes with John Walker, where he sees himself with his son arguing with his wife because he was not paying attention to this son, which is kind of messed up. I'm surprised Ghost didn't get one. I'm honestly, I thought she would get one where you would see Lawrence Fishburne, but she didn't get one. Which thought that was pretty interesting. Um, but I thought their chemistry overall was very cool, was very legit. Um, but then we got the post, not wait. So after they all saved the world, Val surprisingly congratulates them and names them the New Avengers. And that becomes the official true name of the film. And I'm not gonna lie, that was pretty interesting because once they did that, like naming the film from Thunderbolts to the New Avengers, it made me remember how it seemed like the symbol, like Thunderbolts, but then there's a symbol in the title. I remember watching a 3C Films video, and he thought that it would mean something, like they would not be officially named the Thunderbolts, and they might be named something else in the end of the movie. And it turns out he was right, because they're officially called the New Avengers, and that the Thunderbolts was just named after just some like football team from that Red Guardian knows. And so I thought that was fascinating. So it's basically, so in Avengers Doomsday is gonna be the Avengers, Fantastic Four, the OG X-Men, and the New Avengers fighting Doctor Doom. And there are two post-credit scenes. The first one is kind of a gag where Red Guardian wanted a woman to buy their new merchandise, but she refused to. I thought that was a pretty hilarious scene because of David Harbour. He really having a great time playing this character. But then we got the big post-credit scene where it's about where the Thunderbolts are at their New Avengers tower. Yelena, John Walker, Red Guardian, Ghost, and Bob. And they talk about how they're not the ones that the Avengers people like to talk about on the internet, according to John Walker. But then they later guess like something big going on, and they realize that there was a ship, and it turns out to be a ship that has the Fantastic Four logo, teasing the Fantastic Four coming to the MCU. Because for those who haven't heard and should know, the Fantastic Four first step is supposed to be set in an alternate universe, not the MCU. So maybe in this scene, the after Galactus was destroyed their home, and the Reed, Sue, Johnny, and Ben were before Galactus destroyed their whole universe. They went on the ship and to escape, and they later went to the MCU in space, and it's it seems like in during the post credit scene of First Steps, maybe we'll see them talk with the new Avengers. We'll see. We'll see. But of course, we'll know they'll both team up in Avengers Doomsday alongside the other members of the original Avengers and the 20th Century Fox X-Men, which will be very exciting. So overall, that's my spoiler review for the new Avengers. I really enjoyed the film a lot. I really thought it was one of the best Marvel films of recent years. And I really am excited for Fantastic Four First Steps and the future of the Dark Avengers. Not the Dark Avengers, the new Avengers and Doomsday. And maybe Secret Wars if they appear in it. So, what are you guys' thoughts on the Thunderbolts movie? Not Thunderbolts, the new Avengers. Let me know in the comments below. And peace out. Bye.